I'm 62 years old, and I truly believed I was walking into a warm, simple family celebration for my mother's 85th birthday. Balloons, cake, candles, awkward small talk, nothing more. But the moment we pulled into my sister's driveway, something shifted in my son, Liam. His eyes scanned the house like a man who'd seen something I hadn't. When he leaned toward me and whispered, "Mom, get your bag. Don't react. We're leaving." I laughed nervously, assuming he was overthinking. He'd always been protective. But then he locked the car doors, his hands shaking ever so slightly, and said with a voice I had never heard from him, "Something's very, very wrong." The next 10 minutes were a blur of suspicion, signals, and a realization that chilled my spine. When I finally dialed the police, my fingers trembled so violently I could barely hold the phone. I didn't know what was happening inside that house, but I knew one thing. Liam had seen something he wasn't supposed to.
My name is Evelyn Hart. I'm 62 years old, and I truly believed I was heading toward a peaceful celebration of my mother's 85th birthday. The kind of gathering where the cake is dry, the laughter is forced, and the air smells faintly of old candles and old grudges. My family has always been complicated. My sister Marlene likes everything to look perfect even when it isn't, and her husband Victor is the type who smiles too widely. My son Liam offered to drive me, insisting we leave early, in case parking was tight. I didn't question it. I thought it was just another family event where we'd pretend everything was fine. I had no idea this day would tear open secrets none of us were prepared for. When we pulled up to Marlene's house, something felt off before I even stepped out of the car. The driveway was too empty for a birthday function she bragged about for weeks. The curtains were drawn tight, and not a single light was on inside, even though the sky was already dimming. Liam's hands tightened around the steering wheel as he scanned the house, his shoulders stiffening. "Mom, don't get out yet," he murmured. I frowned, confused. This wasn't like him. Usually he tried to calm me, not alarm me. I tried telling myself it was nothing. Maybe they were setting up a surprise or rehearsing some dramatic entrance. But deep down, something cold started to spread in my chest. Liam leaned forward, squinting at the garage door as if trying to confirm something. "Mom, someone's inside the garage," he whispered. I followed his gaze, but saw nothing at first. Then I noticed a faint flicker of movement, like someone stepping back quickly, trying not to be seen. A chill ran across my skin. "Probably Marlene moving decorations," I said weakly, but Liam didn't agree. "Mom, you don't move decorations while hiding from your own family." His eyes darted to another window where the curtain swayed slightly. He exhaled sharply, jaw tense. I'd seen him scared before, but never like this. For the first time, fear replaced my doubts. Something was definitely wrong inside that house. As I reached for my bag, ready to go inside, Liam suddenly leaned close, gripping my wrist. "Mom, get your bag, but listen to me. Don't react. Don't look at the house again," he whispered, voice trembling with controlled panic. "Just act like we forgot something and we're leaving." My heart hammered. "Liam? What are you talking about?" I whispered back, but he didn't answer. He just kept staring straight ahead, breathing slowly like someone trying to stay calm under pressure. His seriousness frightened me. Liam wasn't dramatic. He wasn't paranoid. If he was whispering like this, something truly wasn't right inside that house. I nodded slowly, trying to match his calm even though confusion swirled inside me. I reached for the door handle, but before I could push it open, Liam's hand shot out and hit the lock button. All 4 doors clicked shut, sharply, the sound echoing in the quiet driveway like a warning bell. "Liam," I gasped. My son never used that tone, sharp, commanding, urgent. "Don't get out," he insisted. He leaned forward again, peering at the front door. There's someone standing behind it, and it's not Aunt Marlene. I froze. My breath caught. I followed his line of vision and saw a faint outline behind the glass. Too tall, too still, and definitely not family. The air inside the car thickened. Whatever was happening wasn't just unusual, it was dangerous. Liam swallowed hard, fingers trembling slightly on the steering wheel. "Mom, something is very, very wrong," he said quietly, each word heavy with certainty. "I don't know what it is yet, but I'm telling you, we can't go inside." My heart thudded painfully. "You're scaring me," I whispered. But he shook his head. "I'd rather scare you than lose you. That sentence alone made my stomach drop. I looked at the house again, really looked. The drawn curtains, the unmoving shadow behind the door, the silence, so unnatural it pressed against the windows. Suddenly, the birthday celebration I had imagined felt like an illusion masking something darker. I reached for my phone. For once, I trusted fear. Lock the doors. Keep your seatbelt on, Liam said firmly. I nodded, hands shaking slightly as I placed my phone in my lap. Every instinct in me wanted to go inside and check on my mother, but Liam stopped me with a look I'd only seen once. The day he shielded me during an accident years ago, it was the look of someone ready to protect at any cost. We're safer here, he murmured. I forced myself to breathe slowly, letting the weight of the situation settle. Something was off inside that house, something serious. And sitting there in the cold, tense silence, I realized this wasn't a birthday party. This was the moment everything began to unravel. Liam kept his eyes locked on the living room window, his posture tightening as if every muscle in his body sensed danger. "Mom, someone's moving inside," he whispered, barely blinking. Evelyn followed his gaze and saw just the edge of a silhouette glide past the curtains. Too fast, too deliberate, almost as if whoever it was didn't want to be seen. The house was supposed to be filled with relatives preparing for the birthday, but something about that shadow felt wrong. Sharp, rushed, tense. Liam's fingers tapped nervously against his phone, but he didn't look away, like he expected the silhouette to reappear at any moment. Evelyn felt the first flicker of unease crawl up her spine. Evelyn tried to steady herself, reminding her mind not to jump to conclusions.
But the uneasy rhythm in her chest refused to settle. She opened her mouth to reassure Liam, to tell him he was just stressed, but then another shadow appeared. This one is larger, slower, as though pacing with purpose inside the house. Evelyn's breath hitched. Two people moving around wouldn't normally alarm her, but the way they hovered near the hallway, far from where the celebration setup should be, felt off. She glanced at her son, whose expression had shifted from concern to certainty. He wasn't imagining things. Something inside that house was happening out of sight, and for the first time, Evelyn wondered if Liam sensed danger long before she did. Evelyn's phone buzzed, breaking the tense silence. A message from Marlene lit the screen. "Come inside quickly. Don't wait." No emojis, no explanation, none of her sister's usual warmth, just an abrupt instruction. Evelyn frowned, rereading it as her pulse quickened. Why tell her to hurry? Why don't wait? She typed back asking if everything was fine, but the message showed delivered without any sign of Marlene typing. Liam leaned closer, reading over her shoulder, his jaw tightening. "Mom, she never texts like that," he murmured. Evelyn felt it too, the chilling absence of detail, the urgency dripping between every letter. Combined with the shadows inside, the message felt less like an invitation and more like a warning disguised as one. Liam finally exhaled, as though holding it in had become painful. "Mom, you need to listen to me," he said, voice lower, heavier. "Before you came outside, I saw Victor in the garage, arguing with someone, not family, a stranger." Evelyn froze. Victor wasn't the type to raise his voice, let alone argue secretly at the edge of a family gathering. "What did he look like?" she whispered, but Liam shook his head. He couldn't see the guy's face, but he kept pointing at the house, and Victor looked scared. Not angry, scared. Evelyn's stomach twisted. Victor? Afraid? Something didn't add up, something dark. And now Marlene's text, the shadows, the missing warmth, it all aligned into one terrifying possibility. Evelyn scanned the long driveway again, her breath catching as she noticed something she somehow missed earlier: the absence of cars. Several relatives had promised to arrive early to help decorate, yet the spaces in front of the house sat strangely empty, as though the celebration had never been planned. Only Victor's car, Marlene's, and one unfamiliar sedan remained. "Where is everyone?" Evelyn murmured. Liam followed her gaze, swallowing hard. The silence around them felt too thick, too unnatural for a birthday gathering. No laughter, no music, no movement other than those unsettling shadows inside. The realization crept in like ice. Either no one had shown up, or someone didn't want them there yet. And that unfamiliar car suddenly felt like the loudest clue of all. Liam hesitated before speaking, as though unsure whether sharing more would push her into panic. "Mom, I checked the backyard earlier. The gate is chained shut."
Evelyn blinked at him, confused. Chained? He nodded. Not locked, chained, like someone didn't want anyone leaving or entering. The words sank slowly, dreadfully. Who chains a gate during a family event? Evelyn's mind raced, recalling Marlene's message, Victor's argument, the missing guests, and now this. Everything pointed toward one undeniable truth. Someone had taken control of the house and the family inside it. As Evelyn looked toward the kitchen window, the curtain shifted again, confirming that whoever was inside was not preparing for a celebration. They were preparing for something else entirely. Liam grabbed her wrist gently but firmly, his voice trembling despite the calm he tried to project. "Mom, please, call the police. Not later, now." Evelyn felt her heart slam against her ribs, calling the policeman, accepting that something truly terrible might be happening on the other side of those walls. But the shadows, the chained gate, the odd text, the missing cars, it all stitched together into a picture she could no longer deny. Liam's eyes glistened with fear for her, not himself, and that pushed her over the edge. Evelyn unlocked her phone with shaking hands, her thumb hovering over the screen. She wasn't ready for answers, but she was more afraid of what would happen if she ignored the truth any longer. Evelyn studied her shaking hands as she dialed 911, forcing her voice not to crack when the operator answered. She explained the shadows inside the house, the missing guests, Marlene's strange message, and Victor arguing with a stranger. The operator listened without interrupting, her tone shifting from routine calm to sharp alertness. "Ma'am, I need you to remain where you are. Do not approach the house." Hearing those words made the fear in Evelyn's chest solidify. This wasn't a misunderstanding, and she wasn't overreacting. Something real, something dangerous was unfolding inside her sister's home. The operator asked for the address again, confirming patrol units were close. Evelyn felt Liam's eyes on her, waiting for any sign that help was coming. The operator's voice grew firmer, giving instructions Evelyn didn't expect. "Lock your doors, stay inside the vehicle, do not make yourself visible." Evelyn exchanged a nervous glance with Liam, who was already checking the locks again, reinforcing every click. The operator continued asking quick, precise questions. Was anyone leaving the house? Were there sounds? Were the curtains moving? Evelyn answered quietly, watching the windows like they were eyes staring back at her. The operator finally said, "Units are en route. Do not engage with anyone from the house. Repeat, do not engage." The seriousness in her voice cut through any remaining doubt. Evelyn suddenly understood they weren't just witnesses to something odd. They were potential targets if they made one wrong move. Just as Evelyn ended the call, the front door swung open and Victor stepped outside. But something about him was wrong, too stiff, too forced, like a man trying to act normal without remembering what normal looked like.
His smile was stretched unnaturally, and his eyes darted toward the house as though checking for approval. He walked toward their car with slow, deliberate steps, lifting a hand in a gesture meant to appear friendly. Evelyn felt Liam tense beside her. Victor mouthed something, too soft to hear, but his expression didn't match the casual wave. He wasn't coming out to greet them. He was coming out to control them. And the closer he got, the more obvious it became that he didn't want them calling for help. Victor tapped lightly on the window, signaling for them to roll it down. Liam immediately shook his head, raising one finger in a calm but commanding no. He didn't move an inch, didn't reach for the lock, didn't even blink. Victor's smile faltered, replaced with a flicker of irritation. He leaned closer, whispering something through the glass, something harsh enough that Evelyn saw the strain around his lips. Liam didn't budge. He simply stared back with a steady defiance that made Victor's jaw tighten. Evelyn felt her pulse hammering, but she trusted Liam's instinct. Opening that window would be a mistake. Victor's face snapped, his mask vanished, replaced with a raw, simmering anger that twisted his features. He grabbed the door handle hard, jiggling it with increasing aggression. The lock mechanism clacked loudly under the force, each pull confirming Liam's fears. Evelyn gasped, pulling her hand back instinctively as if Victor might rip the door open. "Open the door," he growled through the glass, the words forming clearly even without sound. His eyes started back toward the house again, like someone inside was watching him and expecting results. The tension in his expression wasn't just anger, it was fear. Not of them, of whoever was in that house. And that truth hit Evelyn hard. Victor wasn't the threat. He was scared of something far worse. Just when Victor yanked the handle again, a distant wail cut through the air, police sirens growing louder by the second. Victor froze, his hand still gripping the handle. His entire body stiffened, panic flooding his eyes as the sound closed in. He stepped back from the car, breathing hard, eyes scanning wildly.
The sirens echoed off the walls of the quiet neighborhood, a promise of intervention that made Victor's composure crumble. Without a word, he turned and bolted toward the house, sprinting up the steps like a man running from his own downfall. Evelyn watched him disappear inside, the door slamming behind him just as the first patrol car rounded the corner. 2 patrol cars screeched to a stop, and within seconds, officers poured out, moving with coordinated urgency.
They didn't approach casually. They moved in formation, spreading around the perimeter with hands on their holsters. One officer signaled for Evelyn and Liam to stay down, while others advanced toward the front door in cautious, controlled steps. Evelyn watched, heart racing, as officers disappeared around the side of the house, their flashlights slicing through the dimming afternoon light. The tension in the air thickened, every second stretching painfully. Whatever was happening inside had escalated far beyond a family dispute. The officers' expressions said it all. They weren't expecting a misunderstanding. They were preparing for a rescue or a confrontation. The officers moved through the house with firm, synchronized steps, and Evelyn followed from a distance, her breath held tight. When the shouting started, she froze. Moments later, police escorted Victor and two unknown men out of a back room, hands raised, faces pale. On the table behind them were open duffel bags stuffed with neatly wrapped bricks of cash and small packets Evelyn recognized only from crime shows. The sight hit her like a slap. This wasn't a misunderstanding, nor a family dispute spiraling out of control. It was a criminal operation that had been hiding in plain sight. One officer muttered that they'd interrupted a drop, and Victor's silence confirmed everything. The birthday party wasn't the plan. It was camouflage. Marlene stood near the kitchen doorway, shaking so violently she had to grip the counter for support. When Evelyn approached, her sister broke completely, words spilling faster than breaths. She confessed that Victor had been dealing with dangerous people for months, using their quiet neighborhood as his safety net. The birthday party, she admitted, wasn't her idea. Victor insisted on hosting something big that night to make the house look full, loud, and harmless. When guests didn't show up, she feared everything would fall apart. Marlene's eyes darted toward the confiscated bags, her voice barely a whisper as she said she had no idea things had escalated this far. But the guilt in her expression said she knew more than she ever admitted. Officers opened one locked door after another, revealing rooms set up strangely, chairs pushed into corners, a table decorated awkwardly with balloons, and an untouched cake melting on the counter. But it was the basement door that told the real story. Inside, the decorations were half-finished, and handwritten notes for a surprise moment were taped to the wall. One officer found a message on Victor's phone instructing family members to wait downstairs for the big reveal. It was a stalling tactic.
He never intended a celebration. He needed everyone in one place, quiet and out of sight, while he completed the illegal handoff. Evelyn felt sick, realizing the party was never about her mother. It was about Victor having cover and control. Evelyn confronted Marlene, her voice steady but sharp with betrayal. "You knew something was wrong. Why didn't you say anything?" Marlene flinched as if struck, tears streaming down her face. She insisted she had tried to back out, but Victor convinced her everything was harmless, that he was cleaning up a debt and needed one night of cooperation. Evelyn stared at her sister, seeing not just fear but years of enabling and silent compromise. The police presence made Marlene crumble further, admitting she didn't warn Evelyn because she hoped it would blow over. Evelyn's heart twisted with anger and pity. She wanted to understand, but the truth was too clear. Marlene hadn't protected their family. She'd protected Victor instead. An officer approached Evelyn with a folder they'd seized from Victor's makeshift office. Inside were documents labeled as gift agreements, each one pre-filled with legal jargon meant to hide the real purpose. Evelyn scanned the pages, her name written neatly at the bottom of one document, awaiting her signature. Marlene looked away in shame. She finally admitted Victor wanted to transfer ownership of something to Evelyn temporarily to avoid suspicion during the cash exchange. He assumed she wouldn't read it, just signed to help with paperwork for Mom's birthday. Evelyn felt her skin crawl at the manipulation. She wasn't invited out of love or celebration. She was bait in a larger scheme, chosen because she trusted them enough to sign blindly. Liam stepped forward, telling officers he'd seen Victor earlier, whispering urgently to one of the men outside the basement door and handing him something metallic. Evelyn felt her stomach drop as Liam described the object, a small, black pistol. The officer's expression hardened instantly. Liam admitted he didn't want to scare Evelyn until he was certain, which is why he insisted they leave quietly before confronting anyone.
His intuition had saved them both. Hearing Liam recall the moment made Evelyn realize how close they had come to being trapped in a house filled with criminals, all while everyone thought they were celebrating. She squeezed his hand, overwhelmed with gratitude and fear, knowing her son's instincts had shielded them from disaster. As Victor was led toward the patrol car, his composure shattered entirely. He twisted against the officer's grip, shouting that his business was perfectly legal and that the family had ruined everything. His voice cracked between rage and desperation, revealing the collapse of a carefully crafted facade. Marlene sobbed as he was pushed into the back seat, but Victor didn't look at her. He only glared at Evelyn and Liam, blaming them with a hatred that sent chills down Evelyn's spine. The officers cataloged the evidence, securing the cash and documents. The house, once decorated for a celebration that never existed, now looked like a crime scene. And as the patrol car pulled away, Evelyn felt both relief and the weight of everything still unresolved.
Before we step into what happened after Victor's arrest, hit subscribe because the final truth is darker and more shocking than anything you've heard so far. When Evelyn finally stepped back into her home, the silence felt heavier than the chaos she'd escaped. She sank onto the couch, replaying every warning sign she had brushed aside, her heart still racing from the night's revelations. Liam sat across from her, watching carefully, ready to intervene if she so much as trembled. The calm of the house felt foreign, almost eerie, but slowly, the familiarity settled in. She realized that safety wasn't simply a place, but the people who protected her, even when she didn't understand the danger. Though exhaustion pulled at her, Evelyn forced herself to stay awake a little longer, wanting to anchor herself in the peace she had almost lost. Police carefully brought Delilah home, reassuring Evelyn that she had remained unaware of the chaos unfolding earlier. Seeing her mother step inside, wrapped in a blanket the officers had given her, filled Evelyn with a mixture of relief and heartbreak. Delilah asked no questions, sensing from the tension in Evelyn's shoulders that the truth could wait. Officers explained they would increase patrols for a few days while processing the evidence. As Delilah settled into her favorite chair, Evelyn watched her with a protective gaze she hadn't felt since childhood. For the first time that night, she allowed herself a breath of gratitude. No matter what Victor had planned, her mother was safe because Liam acted before anyone else could be hurt. Later that night, Marlene arrived at Evelyn's doorstep, eyes swollen and hands trembling. She didn't wait for an invitation before confessing everything, every doubt she had ignored, every moment she convinced herself Victor was just stressed, not dangerous. Her voice cracked as she admitted she had hoped the party would distract him long enough to reconsider whatever he was involved in. Evelyn listened silently, torn between anger and sympathy, but the wounds ran too deep for forgiveness. Marlene kept apologizing, her words tripping over one another, desperate to repair something that had already shattered. Evelyn felt the weight of her sister's regret, but knew that understanding someone's fear didn't erase the consequences of their silence. By morning, Evelyn had made her decision. When Marlene called again, Evelyn answered with the calmness she didn't know she possessed. She told her sister she wished for her healing, but she could no longer be pulled into crises created by choices she didn't make. There had been too many warnings ignored, too many risks taken without thought for others. Letting go wasn't punishment, it was protection. After ending the call, Evelyn felt something inside her shift, a quiet but powerful reclaiming of her boundaries. She realized strength didn't always come from confrontation. Sometimes it was choosing peace over reconciliation. For the first time in years, Evelyn felt like she was living for herself. Later, over a dim kitchen light, Liam confessed everything he had noticed hours before the chaos erupted. The strange men near the basement door, Victor's frantic whispers, the metallic object passed between hands, and the fear in Victor's eyes when he spotted them arriving too early. He admitted he didn't want to frighten her without proof, but the moment he sensed danger, his only thought was getting her out safely. Evelyn listened, pride swelling in her chest. She had always known Liam was observant, but now she understood the depth of his instincts. His quiet vigilance had protected not just her, but the entire family. Without his quick action, everything could have ended very differently. As daylight filled the house, Evelyn gathered the scattered thoughts running through her mind and shaped them into a new promise, one she intended to keep. From now on, she would trust her instincts, no matter how small the warning felt. She would no longer dismiss unease as overthinking or allow loyalty to blind her to danger. Liam agreed, adding that their family needed boundaries stronger than assumed love. Together, they discussed ways to rebuild their lives without letting manipulations slip past them again. It wasn't about fear, it was about clarity. Evelyn felt lighter making this vow, realizing it marked the beginning of a healthier, more self-protective chapter. The next morning, Evelyn brewed tea while Liam sat by the window, watching sunlight stretch across the yard like a quiet reminder of survival. As she handed him a cup, they shared a rare moment of complete stillness, a pause after the storm. Evelyn knew they weren't just recovering, they were transforming. Every choice, every instinct, every step Liam took last night had pulled their entire family back from the brink. She felt an overwhelming wave of gratitude, not just for safety, but for clarity. They sat together, sipping slowly, letting the soft warmth of morning wash over the final remnants of fear. For the first time, Evelyn truly understood. Trusting her son had changed everything.